Perfect. We're live. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Tu Novio podcast. I'm so excited because we have a guest that I feel has a story that we need to listen to. She also has, a drive for community, which I feel is so important. Not only, when you're working as a creative, you want to hype yourself up, but you also want to lift the people around you and everything in between. And I'm really excited too because we're going to be talking about also how I got connected with this beautiful guest with a community-driven space called The Rehearsal, which we will definitely go more into that. But also, the theme of today's episode is music, media, and Latina empowerment. And obviously, I rep being Latina, and I love that for myself, to be honest, and our community. So I want to give the space to Yesi Ortiz. Hi, welcome.
Carmen, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. I mean, honestly, it was such a special treat to get your email. I'm like, oh, yay, she wants to interview me. I love it. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. And, Yesi, I know a lot of people, they call you the voice of LA, but, there is a lot more layers to you. And we will definitely touch into, your accolades, which they are heavy and very powerful. But just a little bit about yourself, because I actually heard that beneath, this very empowered woman, you started off maybe not as comfortable speaking in front of others and not being as this confident person that we see online. So just talk to us a little bit how that happened.
Oh man, yeah. Well, it was definitely a journey to into my comfortability. And sometimes I think I still have moments of uncomfortableness because I was so shy, like these trigger warnings. So like these triggers of like my past. So my mom was, I always like to say I was made in Mexico, born in the US. My mom was
Mhm.
pregnant when she came to the United States with me. And so growing up, first gen Latina, speaking Spanish as your primary language and taking English as a second language in school, and I grew up in Orange County, very, very
Mhm.
South Orange County, during a time where it was very, very conservative, um, very much like predominantly, well, I'll just say it, there were a lot of racists in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
With Confederate flags, you'll see I went to school with Nazis that were very proud of being white power, et cetera, et cetera. So growing up in that type of environment with my name being spelled as Jessica with the Y,
Mhm.
you get pinpointed as the odd person out and not being able to speak English very well. You start to become shy. No one to really like find, no one really there to like be your people, sort of say. And it was really challenging, being told so many discriminatory words, being told not to like be here, even though I was born in
Right.
California, don't speak Spanish. So I'm really trying not to speak Spanish and trying to sound more American than I did Spanish, because at some point then I was embarrassed to speak
Mhm.
Spanish. And it all changed for me when I started um, listening to, funny enough, I started listening more to like music, like hip hop
Mhm.
music, R&B music. And then I started hearing the radio with, you know, um, personalities like the Baker Boys, who are the two big fat Mexicans that they would call
Yeah.
themselves, fat Mexicans on the radio. Narca de la Cruz, Josefa Salinas. I'm hearing all these names that have like Latino names to them, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's people that sound like me that are in this space of music that I absolutely love, because music was my escape from all the noise that
Mhm. Yeah,
I
yeah.
was getting. It was my comfort. It was my comfort. And so as you just kind of I started falling in love with music. I started falling in love with the radio. It was my buddy. My music, my radio was my friend, if you
Mhm.
will, until obviously I became more comfortable to be friends with other folks in school. And eventually, as I got older, I realized how much I leaned into radio for my healing. So, it was definitely a journey. Um, Not easy by any means, but I think what really helped me was just at some point, I got tired of being told that I could not be Latina. And I was like,
Mm.
well, damn it, I
What does
am.
that mean? Yeah, what does that
Yeah,
mean?
I got told that, I got tired of being told that I wasn't allowed to speak Spanish. And I got tired of being told that, my parents, both of my parents are very proud to be from Mexico, very proud to
Mhm.
representing both being in America and being from Mexico. Um, and my dad would never let me forget it. Don't you ever
Right.
forget. Don't you, no te olvides. Don't forget where you come from. Don't forget who your parents are. And I never really understood that until obviously until I got older when I got tired of people telling me, don't speak Spanish. Don't,
Mm.
you're not allowed to say, you're not allowed to speak that language. This is America. Speak English. So when I got tired of it, I was like, brown pride, baby. Like,
Right.
leave it, like, love me or leave me, like, brown pride. And that's what I am. And falling in love with my name, falling in love with my skin, learning how to love myself, everything about me that everyone told me that I wasn't allowed to love. So eventually, um, I grew into that, into owning my name. And I remember getting into radio one time, and uh, they asked me, do you want to change your name from a Y to a J?
Oh, wow. They asked you that?
At some point in high school, I went by Jessica with a J because I was so
Mm.
embarrassed of the Y. But then when I graduated high school, I was like, no, I'm going to put Y. Like, that's when I felt like I was becoming into my own, right? And then I was in school for broadcasting, and I was in school for radio, and my name was Yesi, and the teachers and the professors like, are you sure you want to name yourself? What do you want to go by? And I was like, Yesi Ortiz. Like, that's my name. I got
Mhm.
tired of people telling me, no, like, change it up. It's Jessica. No, I wouldn't correct people either.
Mm.
And so when they asked me if I wanted to change it, and I said no, that's that's my name. Like, and I'm so proud that I never got peer pressured into the industry of thinking that I needed to change my name to be where I'm at today. You know,
I think
I'm
that's beautiful, especially, a lot of us can relate to being first generation here in the US and then also kind of navigating am I a Nostavo kid? You might
yeah,
also be bilingual. Like, there's that privilege of like some of us don't know Spanish, some of us do. Some of us have very unique names where it's kind of like, oh man, like there is like a history to our name as well. And I think especially like in entertainment, it's so easy for us to just like code switch. You know what I mean? And I love that your name is also like, it's very iconic too. It's different. There's so many Jessicas out there. No disrespect to Jessicas with a J. That's
right,
so
right,
beautiful,
right,
beautiful name. But
right, right.
you
Because
know
I
what I
remember
mean?
Jessica Rabbit; she was
Yeah,
fire.
yeah.
So
Still iconic. But you know what I mean? Like, it just for some reason, obviously it wasn't gonna fit you because that's not even your name and how you go by. So I
yeah,
think that's super important in the empowerment piece because, as someone working in media and entertainment and music, I would love for you to talk to me about just being Latina in these spaces. Obviously, a lot of it is male dominated, and you don't see a lot of Latinas in the room either,
mm-mm.
which I've been kind of like, whoa, okay, what's going on? So, like, how did you navigate that? How did you find mentorship? Did you connect initially with men in the workspace, or were you trying to seek out other Latinas to work with? Like, how did you cope with all of that in your radio time?
That's a great question. Honestly, because as a as someone who really just started, not only am I Latina, but my name is Latina. My first radio name was Yesi Ortiz, the Latin diva. Like, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, you are not gonna hide from the fact that I'm not Latina. But and it was very hard to not only navigate through the different how should I say, the different egos of men, right?
Mhm.
And the ideas of what they think I should be, or how I should react, or how I should treat them. Making sure that it was a very hard challenge in making sure that I wasn't seen as your secretary or your assistant.
Mhm.
And it was a balance. It was a challenge. I can't tell you how many times I cried in the studio, just wanting to. It's interesting. I'm in radio, which you don't see people in radio. It's always behind the mic on audio. But I
Mhm.
wanted to be seen so bad as my own individual self because men only either wanted to see me as a sex object or their little sister that doesn't know any better or their
Mhm.
assistant and nothing else. So trying to navigate a world where I want to be friends with the guys, but not their sexual object or
Right.
their little sister. I want to be also the friends of the girlfriends
Mhm.
because I wanted to also be an ally to women. So the entire beginning of my career, I made sure that in radio, there's this trick. In
Mhm.
radio, there's a trick that when you're on air, you're supposed to be talking on the mic to the person in your brain that you like are the most comfortable with. So
Mhm.
there's a trick that some old school radios used to use where they would put a photo of the people that they're friends or the people that they're the most comfortable with, whether it was their partner, their son, their daughter. So whoever they was, they were able to be their authentic self, that they just talking to them and they just
Mhm.
envisioned them. So that was a trick in radio. I had a girlfriend that I would keep in my brain that I would always talk to in my head about how I wanted to talk to her, how I wanted to be her friend, how I wanted to be her ally. And she was somebody who I looked up to because she was always someone that knew how to talk to the guys, but knew where, like, no, that's, I have my boundaries.
Boundaries. You gotta have the
Don't
boundaries.
pass
Yeah.
them. And
Mhm.
she was always so sweet and so nice to all the girls, and she just knew how to be an ally and, like, champion women and very confident to herself. So that was a person that I always kept in my mind. Shout out to my girlfriend, Letty. I love her so much. She's still my sister from this very day. But she was a person that I looked into that I talked to all the time on the radio. And she was the woman that I felt like, that's who I that's who I'm talking to. I I I need to make sure that that's my focal point when I'm off the radio too. How would
Mhm.
I have done this? How would I've seen how she's done this? How can I, so little does she know she was my inspiration and my mentor, so to say. And we would get on the phone
Yeah.
and I would vent to her. But having that allyship with somebody who's gonna always just be there for you to support you was my key. Because then as I got further into my career, you know it was all men, so I had to surround myself with men, and I had to make sure that I was in the room and not being mistreated or seen a certain way. And I had to know when to, like, get out of those rooms too, knowing
Right.
when to get out of those rooms as well. And sometimes I missed the mark, sometimes I stayed way longer than I should have because I felt like, okay, I need to stay in this room for a little bit longer. Not sure why at that time, but sometimes I left right on time.
Right.
It's a learning experience with everything, what you're comfortable with, what you're not comfortable with. And it, you know, I think just in general, being able to have your people from the very core who love you and support you is what really helped me get through a lot of my hard times, because there were challenges there with just balancing the egos and balancing not being seen as somebody who's just trying to, like, sleep their way to the top, even though I was just
Mhm.
having a conversation about studio time. Like, I was
Right.
having a
No, yeah.
conversation about studio time, but from over there, you thought I was trying to give them my phone number to, like, you know, those.
And it be that way, especially, I know the Me Too movement wasn't as forefront in those times. Obviously, the times have changed and people are being more vocal about some of the weird stuff that happens in the music industry, right? And I know you did mention too that you have a love for R&B, a love for hip hop. Hip hop is a very male dominated. Obviously, the girlies are still throwing it down for hip hop. I see more women MCs, and I'm happy to see that. But talk to me about like your time at 106. Like, how did that change your vibe, especially like, interviewing some of these people that you listen to on the radio? Now you're actually interviewing them. Like, tell me about like the time when they told you like, hey, Yesi, like you're gonna be a host. kind
Yeah.
of
Oh, I cried. Because when you're in radio, your dream is to get to the top market. And the top
Mhm.
market, number one is New York, number two is Los Angeles. So basically, the number one market on the West Coast is Los Angeles. Number one market on the East Coast is New York. But in
Mhm.
general, in terms of population, New York has a higher population. Los Angeles has the number two. So your dream, as anybody in radio will tell you, a person's dream to land in one of the major markets, that's the goal. So
Mhm.
when I got asked if I would be a part of the Power 106 family, I was like, I felt like I felt like I had won a quadrillion dollars. To be honest, I felt
Yeah.
that way when I first got my job, my first radio job in Vegas. I felt the same way as I did every single time, but Power had a little extra umph. I almost felt scared. I almost felt like imposter syndrome, that I didn't deserve it. I wasn't ready for it. Are you sure I was
Mhm.
ready for it? I don't know if I'm ready for it.
They
I
called you. They said, "Come here."
and I've
Yeah.
only been in the game for like less than 5 years, or like 5 years, which people been in the industry for 10 years and couldn't crack LA market. Maybe
Mm,
because it's not because that they weren't talented enough, or anything like that. It's because maybe there just wasn't at the right time, right place, right time, or whatever the reason was. I was there a lot sooner than a lot of other people. And I
right.
think I think that was a lot more pressure. I think that was a lot more pressure to not disappoint my culture, to not disappoint my womanhood of women that I had been feeling I was trying to champion my community. I was trying not to disappoint my own family, disappoint everybody else and myself, because I felt like, oh man, I don't know if I deserve this yet. Like, I don't know. Did have I put in the work yet?
Mm,
I put in the work yet. I don't know if I made my mistakes. I don't want to make my mistakes in LA, but I couldn't believe, like, you don't turn it down a job like that.
right.
So, I was doing radio in San Diego at the time, and they had actually offered me more money to stay in San Diego.
Shout
And
out to San Diego. I'm from San Diego originally.
yeah,
That's
they
home.
had they actually offered me more money to stay, keep doing their morning show, but I was like, you don't turn down Power 106. Like, you just,
Mhm.
not at that time, not in 2006, the height of, like,
Mhm.
music. Well, not the hype, but I'm saying, like, one of the eras that is most talked about now. So I just was so blessed. And when my first day on the job was interviewing Sean Paul,
Wow.
and I was like, wait a second, like, Sean Paul, like
They
Sean
just threw
Paul,
you
like,
in. They were like, "You ready?" Like, "Here you
yeah,
go."
like, that's your first day on the
Yeah.
job. You're interviewing Sean Paul. I was like, whoa, hold on. Temperature was still banging in the club,
And
so
it still is. Like, shout out to that man.
and it was probably the worst interview I'd ever done, because I was nowhere near prepared, nowhere near experienced to be interviewing an artist at that caliber. Like, no. But I'm it went fine. I think it was a lot longer than it had to have been, but it was a memory that I always still hold close in my heart. And to be going from him to interviewing like the greats like Janet Jackson and Mariah Carey, to Nicki Minaj, to Lady Gaga, to Ariana Grande, and the newer wave ones, Tinashe, and Janae Aiko, and just all these beautiful, seeing SZA perform for the first time before she's like SZA now.
Wow.
It's just seeing Kendrick perform Kendrick before where he's at now, and meeting these artists before their big sold out, shows, has been
I think it's iconic too, because I mean, you are part of hip hop history, music history, in some shape or form. You left a stamp in the movement, and I think that's so important too. Because I totally get you. Like sometimes I'm just like, am I even ready? Like to do this or to do that? And it's like you will never know unless you do it. You just gotta talk yourself out of that. And I feel like that always happens. It's just that voice in our heads. But I know you mentioned, your time at Power, but I do want to talk to you about, because like, listening to people on the radio, what really gravitates me to them too is the community part of it. Like
Mhm.
sometimes people drive out to the station just to see you, or if you're hosting an event or a pop up at like a festival, a fair, what have you. How did you build community and have people like feel connected to you? Like how did that happen?
I think because for so long as I was growing up, I felt like I didn't have community because
Mm,
I was like an odd girl out. And I think for me, as I got older, I knew that I wanted to build community for us to be seen. And that was like my driving force was I don't want anybody to feel like I had felt growing up. So being able to build community was always for me my number one priority. And like it's a shame that radio isn't what it was before. It's a shame that it's not the same way
mhm.
anymore and it's different now. Now people can kind of like not care less, but they're not really tripping like that. You know what I mean? Because they're not, they're a lot more accessible now. Radio back in the day was a little different. Like that was all we had was the radio, and like to have you show up in a spot. It's like I need all of my friends to be there. I'm calling all of my friends. Like if I can make my friends feel good about bringing any kind of joy in their life and we could do it together, like that felt so good. One of the first things that I had ever done, which was in Vegas, was a Latin hip hop show called the Street Fuego. The Street Fuego was a 1 hour 3 hour Sunday night show, and it was from 6 to 9 p.m. And right around 5:30, 5:50, we had a big window that showed the parking lot of the radio station. So you could see the parking lot. And right around 5:30, 5:45, cars would just start to roll up because I would be like, pull up to the station. Like, let's just have a tailgate. People would start pulling up to the radio stations, to the radio station and be playing the radio tailgating
Oh wow.
outside
You're
of
like,
the
save
radio
me,
station.
save me a plate for
And
after my
shout out to
shift.
a beautiful woman. Her name was Mama Becky. We called her Mama Becky because Mama Becky would always come with food. Mija, we brought
Wow.
food. And it just turned into this beautiful. It was then that I was like, how do I continue to create this special moment and this special memory,
Mhm.
whatever it is that I do moving forward? And that's what I always kept with me is like, I can't let my people down. I can't let myself down. And how do I now use this platform like Power 106 or like moving forward with Odyssey 97 One Amp Radio? Like, how do I use these platforms to bring community constantly together? Um,
Mhm.
because that's to me, that's beautiful. That's a unity that is so priceless. So being able to do that with the platforms that I was given, I never took for granted. If anything, I think I was always getting mad at corporate because we weren't doing enough.
Mm,
And
yeah.
I would get them all the time and be like, we should be doing. And they're like, Yesi, relax. I think I would get so mad sometimes because I felt like we weren't doing enough. And
Yeah.
it would get me, I think I got HR upset a couple of times.
It's that fire, that drive. Obviously, you have the passion for it. So, like, like for people to pull up just by listening to you on the radio, like, that's so powerful. Like, people, in the time that we are now, everyone's used to video, seeing their favorite radio hosts. I grew up in the Frankie and Gina days back home
Yeah.
in San Diego.
Yeah.
Now,
I was right before Frankie and Gina with AJ's Playhouse.
oh, yeah, I remember AJ's Plays
Yeah.
Out. Like literally, like these people, we would pull up. They would come to my high school
Yeah.
sometimes. So like I have a connection with some of these people that I feel like I knew. Obviously, they weren't my friends, but because like I would listen to them, like, oh shoot, like I feel like I know them. So now moving forward, you had this beautiful journey into radio, into your career. But I love that you don't stop at just that. You also give back to others. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how we met. because we met at the rehearsal, and I would love to know how you became one of the founders of this beautiful space, and if you could tell us, because I know I have my experience, but I would love to know from
And I want to know about your experience too, Carmen.
Ah, yes.
It's important. We created a space for artists to perform their bodies of work in front of an audience. Somebody who has been in this game for as many years as I have, both radio, TV, podcasting, you know, all the things. It I've always noticed that a lot of these artists that are really, really talented
Mhm.
get fallen through the cracks, because there's such a pay to play culture. There's such a what I like to call cookie cutter artist in the
Mhm.
industry. As you've seen, you worked at industry labels before.
Yeah.
You've seen these cookie cutter artists where it's just kind of like handpicked, and then we'll make them look this way and we'll follow this formula, and they're going to be the next big thing. A lot of these artists, not to say that they're not artists, but a lot of other artists that don't necessarily have the financial means or the support or the reach, um, you know, are and probably don't care for a lot of the cookie cutter pop culture capitalism of the music industry. They
Mhm.
really just care about their art.
Yeah.
Those are the people that we wanted to embrace. We want to really embrace the people who aren't really just like, oh, I'm doing this because I'm gonna be viral and I'm gonna be popping tomorrow. Like there's nothing
Mhm.
wrong with that. But I think what happens is then we miss out on the people that are just there who just want to perform, who
Right.
just want to sing, who just that's their healing, that's their art, that's their Picasso.
Mhm.
They just don't care really about the fame like that, but they're so talented and they should be heard and people should hear them. So a few of us got together. I was managing an artist named Calista Del Toro, who's very, very talented, and she was very shy, trying to figure out to come on to her own. And I said, well, how do we get her comfortable in front
Mhm.
of people without her feeling like she's pressured to do it on this big stage, or she has to
Right.
pay so much money to perform or sell a certain amount of tickets? And I had a conversation with David Tam, Damon Turner, and we were like, let's just create a space for them where they can just come and perform and rehearse in front of people. And if they make a mistake, great, they make a mistake. That's the rawness.
The
And
rehearsal, literally.
and that's how it was, from there it just kind of went. And first week we had like 5 people, and then second week we are like, do we want to do this again? There was like
Mhm.
5 people last week. Well, let's do it again. It was like 7 people. And now fast forward, it's
Well,
man,
like the whole room is full.
we had
Wow.
this dream. We had this dream to see folks sitting on the ground, sitting down in chairs and standing up. And I remember seeing this photo and I showed it to the guys and I was like, this is where we need to be.
Mhm.
And nobody believed it. And I was like, I know if we continue to do this, this is where we're going to be. And then that dream came a reality. Like I saw that in this last season 3, I saw that and I was like, oh my God, it's happening. Like I get emotional just thinking about it because of how much heart and soul and time we've put in it. And it just feels so heartwarming to feel supported.
I love that. I also love the connection of it too. It literally feels very homey. And I love just the whole that you could tell that there's like every detail was put into focus for the event.
Tell me more, Carmen. Tell me what you
Yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah. Well, I love music. I love technology. I love being a part of a crowd and then just, having this face-to-face interaction. So I came through the rehearsal from FYI, which is a really cool collaborative app. I definitely suggest everyone that not just music, but if you just have a project in your mind or you just want to like streamline your to-do list, because hey, we all have to-do lists.
Yep.
It's just a really cool way to connect. And every Thursday they have these culture fires where different people come from all industries and they share about what they do, their passions, even some of like their hardships, which I think is super important to listen to. But yeah, that's how I came across David. And then yeah, I was just like, whoa, like they had presented, and then I was like, what is this? Because one of my friends, Taylor, she also let me know about the rehearsal, and they were like, well, if anyone's free, come through on Friday. And I was like, I'm free. And I also love that it's in a location where I've been to before, but I had no idea that that little community room was there. So I've been to the Mercado before. But yeah, who would have thought? Like, I didn't even know
Yeah.
the room was there.
And we
So
transformed the entire conference room into a music space.
no, y'all, like you literally have to see just the way, like even the behind the scenes to like when the show starts, totally different. Yeah, and I went and I was like, wow, like this is really cool because I just love to be tapped in with people that do live events, that want to connect people, and then also that have some sort of like music connection. And yeah, like I really do pride myself in just trying to stay in the know of what's happening in LA. Because I'm not from LA, I'm from San Diego originally, but LA is a really big market and I just love community. Like also I have these friends who, yes, if you're ever free, they did take a week off this week because of the holiday, but every Wednesday at Lamert Park at
Oh
Soulful,
yeah,
my friends, they have it's called Your Favorite Late Night Mix. They
I've
invite
heard of it.
Black DJs. Definitely come through.
Yeah, I've
Y'all
heard of
invite
it.
is free. But yeah, I just love being tapped into those spaces where it's like community based. Like there's a lot of stuff going on in LA, to be honest. And I feel you on the. There's some of these spaces that I'm like, oh, I wish like you had all the recognition and all the highlights, but obviously it takes time to get there. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's how I came across the rehearsal. But I wanted to ask you too, like, how important is it to give back? Because I also saw you are in an organization called Latinos in Media.
Yeah, so that was Lima, Latinos in
Yeah.
Media and Arts. That's another coalition that I co-founded with two other friends of mine, Christina Medina and Nicholas Barril. Nick has a show called De La Calle. I'm not sure if you've
Mhm.
seen it. And my friend Christina, who's over, she's the VP of promotions for Billboard.
Mhm.
So we created Lima maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. I think like 6 years. Oh my God, maybe seven now. We had been talking about the longest time the lack of representation in the music space and the arts, and
Oh,
we've
trust
been,
me. I'm
yeah,
always like, where are we?
yeah, we have been talking about that, and we had also been talking about it in the space of music where we're always categorized, we're always put in a box. If you're
Mhm.
Latina, you're you it's like a gift and a curse, right? Like,
Mhm.
proud to be Spanish singers, like let's say Bad Bunny, right? Bad Bunny for a long time was a reggaeton artist.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, I feel like he's an artist who performs in Spanish. Like,
Mhm.
he's just a pop artist, right?
Right.
As much as we want to highlight and amplify the beauty of our culture in the music industry, they want to box us in. So
Mhm.
as trying to break that, but also being proud. So it's like, how do we create this coalition where we can like amplify Latinos who are doing some incredible work that are Latinos, and then we can like give back to the community and be a pipeline for students and do career days where we go and we talk about our respective careers that probably kids had no idea those careers existed, had no idea
Yeah.
what a publicist is, or has no idea what a VP of promotions mean for Billboard. What does that mean?
That is
What
so
is
true.
what is that? What is a
Mhm.
PA? What's a production assistant?
Yeah.
Even as it doesn't matter how big or small the job is. My friend Mike Alfaro, he started as a content creator, and was part of the agency that created Helpful Honda Dealers. Then he went off and did Millennial Loteria, and
Oh,
now
I love that game. I actually have
yeah,
it in my house.
yeah. So Mike is part of our crew, you know what I mean? So like all these stories, it's like
Mhm.
let's amplify those conversations in high schools and also support our friends as they climb the ladder up. So that's where Lima was created. And we've done career days at different various high schools across LA. Another passion project. It's not a nonprofit or anything like that. It's just a group of us industry folks that decided to do it, and whenever we can, we try and do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Similar with a lot of the other things that I do. Is just off of giving back. It's just paying it forward. You know, I work a lot with the YMCA, East LA YMCA. Um, they're an incredible group of organizations that does a lot here in Boyle Heights, where I live. And so I work closely with them. I work closely with grassroots organizations that have to do with social impact and political spaces, where I've gone door to door, making sure people know to vote, making sure people know. I remember one time, even on Power 106, we had a presidential election happening, and at the same time, Eric Bellinger had an album coming out with Ty Dolla Sign called The Campaign, Campaign, and so I was like, let's all walk to the polls together, like things like that
mhm.
matter. I really wanted to make sure that we were represented in that space. People forget that hip hop came from community. The
Right.
roots of hip hop was community, was to get the message of what was happening in community. And it's always good to like stay true to that, because then you forget about what hip hop really means. And I fell in love with hip hop at a really young age. So I just kind of always keep that close to my heart. And that's community.
I love it. And it's also really cool to know that you live in Boyle Heights.
Yeah.
In the pandemic, when I was stuck in my house, I lived in Boyle Heights for a year. I was
Oh,
literally right by Hollenbeck Park.
yeah.
Prior to that, I would go to Espacio, I would go to the North Gate.
Yeah.
Like, I would go to the little bars, like,
Mhm.
it was really fun.
They have
So
some new ones now. I don't know where you stay at, but they've got some brand new spots that just open, and like good food. I mean, everything was good, but like
yeah,
there's more spots that are open now. Yeah. So
I love that. Okay, so we have to get down to the fun part of the podcast too, because it's not just all work. You know, I do advocate, and like, regardless where you are in life, whether this is your winning season or this is like your grinding hustle, like stay focused season, you should still celebrate and have fun. How do you balance self-care? How do you celebrate your accomplishments? How do you have fun?
yeah. So for the longest time, I didn't. I got to be honest with you. For the longest time, I did not celebrate my wins. I did. I only. It was a tweet, maybe. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Maybe it was a quick little story, but I never sat with my wins because I never wanted to feel like I was being like bragging or anything like that,
Yeah.
pretentious, right? And and as only the last, I would say in 2021, I had a really, really hot, the end of 2021, December 2021 was the last time that I was on air. It was at
Mhm.
97.1, and the station had flipped its format. So I was going into 2022. 2022, my dog of 8 years passed away. I had two dogs. I had two dogs at that time. It was my one that had been 8 years old. He had passed away. I had lost the job. The station had flipped formats. Um, I went through this identity crisis of like,
Mhm.
well, if I'm not Yesi Ortiz on the radio, well, then who am I? Like my
Right.
identity, right? So I didn't celebrate my wins at all until like I really like realized like, oh shoot, not it your biggest successes don't have to be the wins. Like the
Right.
wins, wherever you are in life, your wins should mean something to you. If it's just today, I did my hair. Today,
Yeah.
all I had the energy was to do my hair because I hit that rock bottom. All I had to do was my hair today, and I did my hair. And I started like really paying attention to those small moments of gratitude that I was like, damn, my hair is beautiful. It could use a little work right now, but you know, like,
Next to that's why I put it up like this.
yeah, it's like it could work right now, but I got good hair. I got thick hair. Like, wow. And I started really loving myself more. And because I started loving myself more, I realized I wasn't being conceited. That was me thinking that I was conceited for not wanting to celebrate my wins was actually just a fake way of trying to be humble. Like, no, I
Mhm.
am a humble person. I do give back to my community. I do constantly talk about things that I don't need to, like, I don't share to the world every single thing that I do, nor do I need to. And it was just really
Right.
like believing in myself. Then I started realizing, you know what, Yesi, you are pretty dope. Like, you are a badass. Like, I, I'm gonna celebrate my win today. And then my mindset started changing. My mindset started changing. I started thinking, man, I I'm so grateful to be alive. And I started being stop fearing less.
Mhm.
I stopped fearing less, not being fearless, but I stopped being fearing less of what people were going to think of me. And I started fearing less of what I was going to think of myself, and just be like be myself, and do whatever I can to like love myself even more. So when I celebrate my wins now, I used to be so resistant to like eating like candy or eating like ice cream or like taking a trip. Now I'm just like, you know what? I'm so excited. I got to host this event this past weekend. I'm gonna treat myself to some ice cream because I love
Yeah.
it. I mean, I was working so hard this past weekend. I did like 3 events back to back, and I was like, let's go to the movies, honey. Like, let's go celebrate. Let's go watch. We're gonna go watch to a movie tonight, but we're gonna go to like the recliner ones, right? So like,
Yeah, date
so I'm
night.
so excited. Let's go do that, because I wasn't doing that before. And, I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, let's on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. But like, as you get
Yeah.
older, you're just like, man, these, you got to really slow down to understand what the meaning is of like gratitude. And so now I'm just like, man, this was so great. Let's go to watch a movie.
Mhm.
And we
No,
travel a lot too. We travel a lot. So we're a traveling married couple for sure.
I love that. No, yeah, get your passport. Like literally everybody, if you don't have a passport,
Yes.
that is the one
Get
investment for
your
sure it's worth
passport.
it.
Get your passport for sure. We're going to Africa and Thailand this year.
Oh
And
my
we just got
gosh.
back from Mexico and Paris. So we
Oh,
don't care.
hell
We're
yeah.
taking these trips because
Yes.
you got to. At the end of the day, I worked way too hard to not take advantage or not even take the moment in time to be grateful for life,
Yeah.
you know?
I love that. Before we wrap, I definitely enjoyed, getting to know your story because I feel like it's so important. Obviously, we only see what we can from online, and we only get like a fraction of, a peep into someone's life and journey. But I definitely love just getting to know more about you. And I really admire the way that, not only do you build yourself up, but you also give back to your community and really like make it happen. You know what I mean? You put your words and you have the action. And I love that. So I just wanted to ask you kind of like, what would you love for the audience to take away from Yesi Ortiz?
What would I oh, what would I love from the audience to take away from yes? I don't even know if it's from me, but any type of advice I can say is, you know, I feel like that's a full loaded question because there's so much that I've learned that I could feel like I could pass along to folks. I think healing, mental
Mhm.
health is a really important subject of mine. So I've gone to therapy for the last few years and it's changed my life. Oh, someone's knocking at my door. Give me
Wait,
uh, hold on.
you're good.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Someone's knocking at the door right in the middle of my speech. Hold on. ¿Puedo hablar con él? ¿Con quién? ¿Con una? ¿Uno tiene? Ajá. Sí, tengo su número. Okay. Sí, yo le hablo. Ok, dame unos 5 minutos, ¿sí? Okay. Déjame agarrar su número. Ok. ¿No yo la pizza aquí? ¿No yo la pizza aquí? ¿Ah, sí tienes su número? Ajá. Ah, ok, ok. ¿Va a ser blanco? Sí, déjame hablar con él. Okay. Yo le digo ahorita. Ok. Nomás que estoy terminando una cosita. Okay, I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, you're good, you're good. I'll be able to edit this, so you're fine.
Okay. So wait, question was, what can people take away from Yesi Ortiz? Okay, I would say take care of your mental health. Therapy was key for me, period, for the last couple of years. Your job isn't what identifies you. And as corny as it sounds, don't let anybody try to tell you what lane you need to be in, like where you need to go. You feel you need to go in whatever direction you feel like you need to go. Paying it forward is key to success. You never know where it's going to lead you, where it might have you land. And I would also say allyship, especially in men and women. It doesn't matter, actually, men and women. Allyship is important. And I would say the last thing I think I would say is being able to tell the truth without being able to tell the truth, being able to have your voice be heard without being too I want to say, like, there's a way to balance your voice and not quiet yourself down. So like you can always speak your truth, and also at the same time you can always speak your truth with intentional compassion, because I think people forget that compassion and empathy go a long way. So
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Period. You heard it first, y'all.
And have fun doing it. Have fun doing it. Have fun doing it. Go take that vacation. Go get your passport. Have fun doing it.
Facts. So before we head out, I would love for you to share with us how we can stay connected with you, and if you have any upcoming projects or things that you would like for us to know.
Yeah, so season 4 of the rehearsal comes back in September. So pretty soon it'll be here before you know it. We have an incredible, let's just say the word festival being planned. Yeah, for the rehearsal. Yeah. You can find me on Instagram. I'm at Yesi Ortiz on Instagram, YESI. I'm also proudly part of the Latino Media Network, which is a brand new media network company that is owned by 2 powerful Latinas. Check them out. But you'll be seeing me at Dodger games, because they are La Casa de los Dodgers. So they are the official radio station, flagship station for the Dodgers in Spanish broadcasting. So I'll be at a lot of Dodger games.
No, I'll pull up to a game.
You'll catch me at a lot of Dodger games. But yeah, and I'm just Yesi Ortiz wherever you can find. I don't think nobody has my name.
Yesi, thank you so much for being with us, talking about music, media, empowerment, just, doing what you are blessed with. If you have the talent in you and you've been thinking of just like doing it, do it for yourself first. And
Talent, Carmen, just start. Just start. Even if it's just writing the idea on paper, just start. Everyone always said, because Carmen, you said this earlier, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. Girl, are doing this. You
Thank you.
are doing that. So
Yeah, yeah.
change your words. You are, a journalist. You are
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. Don't say I want to. You are. You already doing it. Do it.
Period.
Period.
Hell yeah. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Sorry about the interruption
Oh,
too.
no.